All right.
Let's go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes.
My guys, my people, my Vikings fans, what a week it has been. Welcome to another training camp episode of Viking Hot Takes, the fast-moving Minnesota Vikings talk show. Again, for y'all, we've got Eric Thompson from the Daily Norseman. We've got me, Flip Mazzi from Climbing the Pocket, and we've got the fans in the comments. Buckle up and let's go, Eric. You've been seeing our favorite team play in person, man, so you must have some of the hottest takes. Am I right?
Well, let's just say that the show this week is the shot in the arm that we all need. And I've only been
You
to
gotta.
the one, I've only been to like 1.5. I'm going again on Saturday to the stadium scrimmage, and again next Thursday. But I've been keeping close track, and yes, there is plenty to talk about. There's some that we probably intentionally aren't going to cover. You can go to Twitter and find all the memes on that, but we got plenty to talk about still in our 20 minutes tonight.
We do, and we got to get Dave a drum roll, a drum roll sound for those jokes that you're starting to crack. I love it. I love it. It's a free environment in here. But hey, let's get started. Let's put the minutes on the clock, and we're gonna move fast here. So first question, Eric, in the midst of all this chaos, there are practices happening. players improving. So let's go straight to the football field. Who are your MVPs of training camp so far? Give me one on offense and one on defense.
Okay. Well, I think on offense, it kind of has to be KJ Osborne. Like, I mean, most of everyone had him as kind of a bubble guy at best, and a lot of people had him on, the preseason before training camp started, the 53-man projections kind of had him off the roster because he did kind of a whole bunch of nothing. He barely got any offensive snaps, didn't do much in the special teams, and now there's a lot of serious talk about him winning that third wide receiver spot with a lot of other people contesting for that role too. So, I mean, a lot of guys will have nice 1 or 2 days in camp and they'll make a couple great catches or something like that. And that happens all the time during camp. But Osborne has been putting day after day after day of consistent play, and you kind of have to start taking him serious now. I mean, I don't think anyone on the team so far has helped themselves more than KJ Osborne, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And on defense, I think I'm I mean, this might be a cop out, but I think it's Danielle Hunter, just because it looks like he's all the way back from that neck injury last year. And the scary thing that Zimmer said the other day, that he's still a bit rusty. And from everything that we've seen, I mean, you've seen all the clips on Twitter and you've seen the recaps and everything. If he can come back as
Mm-hmm.
that top 5 edge rusher he was before the injury, that is so huge for this defense. And I think honorable mention might have to go for defense if if Hunter's too easy of a choice because he's already that good. I think Patrick Peterson, and again, he hasn't done and anything too revolutionary on the field, but it sounds like he's
Yeah.
really becoming a really strong leader, both on the field and off the field for a lot of different reasons. And I thought that when we were there on Saturday, they were he's going to be a fan favorite too, because I think they were a bunch of fans doing the Pat P clap clap, like they were doing that for him, and he stops. He's like, no, 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 no. P2. So he's already interacting with the fans a whole bunch. He's going to be a fan favorite, and I think he's going to be a really good fit in the Zimmer defense as well. So who do you got for your offensive and defensive MVPs?
Yeah, I really love those answers. It's so early on in camp that it's not so much about, who is actually looking great on the field for me. It is kind of what you referred to with Patrick Peterson, who's interacting with the fans, who just looks happy to be in purple and happy to be preparing for the 2021 season. So defense, I have to hand it to Patrick Peterson because he's completely changed the narrative around the young cornerback room, and hopefully that's for the better. But also, the way the guys are interacting with each other right now, it just is a completely different atmosphere at camp. It just feels like that when everybody is on the field. I'll do an honorable mention for Armon Wantz because he's getting a lot of snaps. He's stepping up into a role with Mike Pierce, being out. It's his third year. It's a make or break year for him. So getting reps with the first team, I hope he has, a great preseason there. And on offense, it's again getting reps with the first team. So it has to be Jake Browning, right? No,
Sure.
I'm not going to get
hey,
into
hey,
that.
there were
I
no
am
other
surprised that you
quarterbacks
didn't
on
say Jake
Saturday.
Browning.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no kidding.
you want to give him some credit for keeping the ship afloat, but
Right.
is he going to be in the conversation in 3 weeks? Because we do have a month. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Irv Smith because I think he has an infectious personality as well. Again, it's about an atmosphere that's just different in camp this year, less intense, more fun. Irv Smith has always been that guy, that rah rah guy, that cheerleader, and he does look great. He looks the part. He looks like a TE1, bigger but just as fast. And he's making some great grabs, making Jake Brownie look good in practice. That's always nice. Those are my answers.
Okay. All right. For my first question now, what we're going to stay on that offensive side of the ball.
I
What
see you, Ted
offensive
Glover.
change do you Drew Pearson pushed off. I love it. What offensive change do you most want to see Clint Kubiak make into 2021, especially compared to his dad, the way that he ran the offense last year?
Yeah, Arif kind of broke down what he's seeing in the Kubiak scheme early on in camp. It's a great article on The Athletic.
Yep.
and he's not the only one. Everybody there says, there's more play action sets, more wide receiver motion pre-snap. We've got some wildcat in there with Dalvin Cook and Alex Madison. They're talking bunch formations, and that's all nice and good. I like those new wrinkles, but even if they stick for the regular season, that's not really what's going to excite me, because the big thing I'm looking for in this offense, we just won't see it until the games are real. That's the play calling, like more passing in general, more early down passing on second and long. I'm
Thank you.
sorry, Dalvin Cook doesn't need 400 touches this year if everything goes great. He just doesn't. Get him involved in the passing game, get the screen game going. And again, when they call those passes. So I'm sure they'll start the year run heavy, which might be fine, but sooner or later, that offense is going to need to rely on the pass game, and I hope Clint Kubiak sees that and is able to be more creative. How about you? How do we know Clint Kubiak's really the next Sean McVay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. The promising thing so far, it seems like Clint Kubiak he seems to know where this offense's bread is buttered. It's those play
Mm-hmm.
action. Kirk is statistically amazing. His splits are great with play action. I like that they're if Cousins has shown one glaring weakness during his tenure in Minnesota and even with Washington, it's that he does not fare well in a muddled pocket. If it gets messy up the middle, he kind of short circuits. And I think they're trying to avoid that at all costs. And how do you do that? You have all these designed rollouts. You have the play action. You don't put all the pressure on the offensive line. It's as much as you're hoping it is improved. It's just not. That's it. I like that he seems to be coaching to his personnel. He seems to be implementing a lot of these, the wide receiver end around and jet sweeps, getting that ball in Justin Jefferson's hand, and all sorts of different ways, and keeping the defenses honest that way. I think that's the most promising thing I have seen so far. He seems to know, with the personnel they have this year, there's no Kyle Rudolph. There's, you have Conklin after Irv Smith, and then it's a whole bunch of unknowns. And the possibilities of even, we talked about Osborne maybe stepping up. If it's not, maybe the D.D. Westbrook is there, or even Amir Smith-Marsette, who's had a pretty nice camp so far as a third wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Having more 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, getting more of that 11 personnel, because after the last 2-3 years that the Vikings have been at or very near to the bottom in the percentage of the personnel package, I think kind of catching up and not being as run heavy. Yes, they're going to be, Dalvin Cook is going to get his touches, but yeah, it doesn't have to be that many. I'd like to see him get a lot more out of the backfield, because he's proven he can catch a lot of passes too. So I just like that that's the number one thing I think that coaches need to do is look at their personnel. That's what Bill Belichick has done for years and years and years. He accentuates the positives in his personnel, and that kind of just takes care of the negatives, because if you're just going to your strengths all the time, and basically the defenses are having trouble stopping, you don't have to expose your weaknesses like that. Like having Kirk Cousins look like he has no idea what's happening if there's pressure up the middle. So I like what
Yeah,
the early returns are good, but again, you're exactly right. He's got to get that play calling down too. All right,
Eric,
we're already
we're
past
getting
30. Yeah.
called out for not drinking on our show. Like that's a young man's game, okay? Eric's got kids to put to bed. We've got work in the morning. Like on Sundays, I'll be drinking, Joe. I promise you that. Next
Who
question, though,
knows
we
what's
got to
in there?
go. Yeah, we'll be quick. Eric, the sophomores look better than the rookies, plain and simple. So you tell me, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, sure, especially at this point in camp. We're what, 7 practices in so far. I mean, the rookies should look like rookies because they are rookies. They're effectively a week or two into their careers. I mean, remember, for as awesome as Justin Jefferson was in his rookie year, it took until week 3 for the Vikings to be like, oh, hey, we should probably have this guy start and include him more in this offense. And he had a good camp, but it wasn't like no one saw the 1,400 yards coming. No, as much as
Yeah.
he I guess this wide receiver shows some promise. So again, you're not looking for all these new guys to jump out right away. It'd be nice if they do. That's great, but you want your second year guys to really have a lot more, a lot to look better, especially at this point in the preseason. Now, if we're at the end of the preseason and no rookies have stood out, especially on the offensive line, like if you have Darrisaw and Davis and they still haven't really done much, obviously they've been limited thus far in practice. You hope in the preseason games they're at least knocking on the door for trying to get in that their starting positions. It's just, yeah, I mean, this probably isn't the greatest timing because Jefferson, of course, had his one bad day. It sounded like he had, a bunch of drops and he had a fumble today. I think he's just getting all those out. He had 4 drops all of last season. Got them all out of the way today. He's going to be great.
Who's
We're not worried
counting?
about him. Yeah,
No.
exactly. But I think overall that's where it should be right now because all the second year players have that year under their belt. They know it's not even the practices, it's just the day-to-day things. They know where everything's at the facility. They're not learning all these, it's not drinking from a fire hose as much. I mean, just think like of any new job that you have either started. Those first few weeks are just like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing here. You're just trying to survive. And that's what these rookies are going through. So yeah, don't worry so far. But if, again, if there aren't any rookies that step up throughout the entire preseason, that might be a little cause for concern because they're going to have to rely on some of these players to step up.
My only gripe is, man, you start looking at some of those other teams practicing, and maybe there is a North Dakota quarterback who's making plays. Maybe there's a Minnesota Gopher who's making a lot of highlights. So I'm just saying we could be there right now. But let's go to the next question.
All right. Well, speaking of that offensive line, and we think might have a couple new people on there. We hope at least at one position. So week 1, from what we know now, there's been some limited playing from the rookies. What will the starting offensive look like in week 1? Offensive line look like in week 1?
So I think the actual players are. I mean, everybody has to be in agreement that it's not Darrisaw, it's not Davis. So if you go left to right, that's Rashad Hill, Ezra Cleveland, Garrett Bradbury. We got Oli Udo at right guard right now, and then Brian O'Neill at right tackle, and that's pretty much set. I mean, that's been the number one rotation for them. So when I see this question, what will they look like? I think it's a coin flip. I think it's 50-50 chance they're better than last year's offensive line. And the 2020 offensive line was terrible. So I don't see short-term upside. Maybe Bradbury and Cleveland take a step, but I'm not looking forward to week 1. I think there's going to be some clear growing pains for at least the first half of the year. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think it might be slow out of the gate. And, the Cincinnati, that's a nice opponent to have, I think, week 1, because that's, there are a lot better teams that the Vikings are going to face, coming right down, especially that, having the division schedule they do, and especially the NFC West schedule that they do. They're going to see some very tough defenses. It's going to be, yeah, I'm not really sold yet. And I'm okay with Rashad Hill starting the season at left tackle. I think that's fine, especially with Darrisaw being limited. He has proven he's been a good swing tackle. The wheels aren't going to fall off of Rashad Hill starting. The right guard, that's a little more of a concern with me, just because Udo has had a nice camp so far. That's great. Are we completely sold that he's going to be better? You'd have to think has to be better than Dozier, and believe me, I'm still on team anyone but Dozier starting at right guard. You just hope that the rookies, now that it sounds like Davis and Darrisaw are back at practice now, at least they're pushing for it by week 1, because that's it. Again, they don't have to be awarded it, and whatever doghouse Zimmer has put Davis in, because he wasn't even in the conversation sometimes, and when being asked about right guard, sounds like he has an uphill battle. But that's okay. If Udo is showing that, I just want the best 5 guys. It doesn't matter name, it doesn't matter draft status, it doesn't matter where you went to college. Get the best 5-man group, at least for week 1. You can adjust as needed going forward, but that should be the big thing. Don't just because, it's a wasted first-round draft pick because Darrisaw isn't starting right away. No, if he turns out to be the left tackle of the future, that's great. He doesn't have to start week 1. There's no rule saying that, and he doesn't have to be a bust right away if he isn't starting, especially when you have a good option like Hill. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see exactly how they start at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it is not a direct path to success. I'll put it that way. There's going to be some very interesting iterations of the offensive line this season for the Vikings. But hey, that's every year.
Okay, I
All
got to
right.
shout out Mary. I got to shout out Mary quick because she said she was better than
Yeah,
Dozier, and I believe her.
yeah. I mean, and Mr. Shea here is saying that they're going to put Dozier in just to put some more pressure on Kirk, get him out of that plexiglass case he's hiding in. So, so you never know. You never know who's going to be in front of him. Okay. Last question, Eric. For me, which side of the ball are you most excited about?
I think it has to be the defense. Just because, I mean, this is still a Mike Zimmer team. He is the defensive guru. It's how he cut his teeth. And I think after the embarrassment that was last year, and the wheels fell off on just about every way possible. I mean, they were putting things together, and the fact that they strung together and what they did until I think the straw that broke the camel's back last year was as soon as Kendricks went out, then there was no way they could stop anything. Then you get the Alvin Kamara running for 6 touchdowns on Christmas. That's I mean, there was just no way they were coming back from that. But with all the pieces that they have, and like I think they have both the most to prove and the most to improve this season, and I think they really will. Now I know what was it yesterday? Shilkapadia of the Athletic had that pretty. He projected them to be the top defense in the NFL, and
Yeah.
I'd pump the brakes on that because there are a lot of moving pieces, literally that the Vikings have to 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 implement before they're even whispering in the top five, but there's definitely the pieces in place to do it. They have the people in the middle. They have Kendricks and Barr back. They have Mackenzie Alexander. I mean, they got the old gang back together. They got Mackenzie Alexander back. They're bringing back Sheldon Richardson. They got Daniil Hunter back. They're I mean, at every level they have an elite player, and there really aren't any glaring holes. And the unfortunate incident that led to a first round pick getting cut. Yes, that's terrible. But the cupboard is not nearly as bare as it was last year at corner. They should, we'd already talked about Patrick Peterson providing that leadership, even if he isn't the elite shutdown corner he was the first 7-8 years of his career. I think he's going to be a big help. Having Alexander back with the familiarity and the attitude. I think you got to talk about. It seems like he and Zimmer are pretty simpatico now. They butted heads a lot over the first 2 seasons. It was basically, if you remember, that Alexander came in and said, "I'm not playing nickel corner," and Zimmer's like, "No, you are a nickel corner." He comes back from Cincinnati. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a nickel corner now." Like
Yeah.
that's having the slot corner. Like that's I would trust Zimmer, especially when it comes to defensive backs there. So, but yeah, I mean
Hmm.
there is so much the offense. You kind of just hope they maintain, like we said with the offensive line. If they're as good, we want them to be a little better. The offense was pretty solid last year. They scored a lot of points. They put up a lot of yards. If they can stay about the ranking they were last year, the offense, and have the defense improve as much as we think it can, that could go a long way for this team to not only make the playoffs and maybe win a game or two in the playoffs, which is it seems like a bridge too far in the Zimmer era, but I think they could really make some noise if that defense is shored up. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, this, like you said, it's a Zimmer team, so let's do it. Let's get that number one ranking. I don't know why I should be shy about that because it's honestly the only
There you
thing
go.
that excites me about this team right now. Go from 28th to the best defense in the league, make Jake Browning's job easier in case he has to do a couple spot starts. And I'm sure the playmakers will get the ball. I hope Clint Kubiak can get them to it, but from a talent or newness type perspective, only like maybe like Amir Smith-Marsette really excites me about what's new on offense. On defense, everybody is new, and we've got one of the best schemers and defensive play callers in the game. So that is my answer. The defense is what we're excited about right now.
For sure. Okay, we got a minute left. We got to go quick hitting here. Which player is your surprise cut from the 53-man roster? Go.
Okay, so I'm in a little bit of a dilemma here because I have a lot of guys, but let's just say if I get 3 out of 5 here, give me credit for it. So number one, D.D. Westbrook hasn't done anything. So if he's gone, that's a surprise cut. Hercules Mataafa, former fan favorite. He's always been overrated in my opinion. Silent camp for him, so it's time for him to go. I think there's a lot of competition for that third tight end spot. So Brandon Dillon, like if they keep the tight end slash punter slash long snapper, I think that would be a little surprising. These are my big ones. Alex Madison and Stephen Weatherly. I think Nwangu looks good. He brings a
Madison.
different dimension, and they've got some young guys at defensive end.
Wow. I was gonna say Abdullah or something like that, but if you're swinging for the fences with Madison, that'd be huge. I don't agree. I think he's gonna make the team, but
okay.
Nwangu looks
You
good.
said surprise, and I said 3 out of 5. We can't have
You surprised
surprise
me.
and just
You did it. You did it.
have the veteran Abdullah.
I love it.
Everybody's expecting Chad Beebe to get cut, so I would not definitely Alex Madison. The other 2 running backs play special teams, and he does not. So I hope he has a
All right.
good camp for his sake. That's another episode of Vikings Hot Takes, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. It was quick, it was fast. It's always going to be that way. Maybe that's why we don't drink, because it's hard to chug a beer while you're spitting out these fire takes. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the fans. Eric, you got any closing comments?
Nope. Let's hope for a slightly quieter week, and we can focus a little more about football. I fired off all my memes and my and RIP
Yeah.
Case Cookus. We love you. We should have got more of a shot, but
Yeah, we'll do Vikings cold takes next week, hopefully. Pray for a slow week, injury-free week, and Skull Vikings.
for sure.
Take it easy, y'all.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skål, everybody.